Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year. That was a little off.
We are back with you, and welcome back. But I felt that we needed to put out a Happy New Year. 2013 is dead and gone, and we're all happy that it is. It was not a good year. It was pretty awful. So I thought maybe, well, at least we have a hope that this will be a better year. This doesn't have a number like 13 to it. So that's a good start.
I've been telling myself that all week. At least there's no 13 in it.
In it. So at least it's a good start. But we'll see. There is always the hope, though. And I was really happy to see that year go, because that has been, I can say, the worst year of my life. Carried
2012 was
on.
pretty bad, though, too.
The second half, yes, it was. And it was carried over. But 2013, okay, not only put in a situation not being able to make any money, but also being attacked with the false accusation and false charges of, well, suspicion of fraud and all that garbage, okay? So, and they can do anything they want to. The law doesn't mean anything. So, it's been a bad year. Struggling, suffering, being underground, really bad. And away from the family, so tacky, awful holidays for all of us, and not just me. The rest of the family wasn't a good holiday either. So that's awful. And so we're hoping that the new year will be a better situation and things will get better and the bad guys will get it, hopefully. The bad things they have done, I don't know, okay? These are only hope. But if you don't have that hope, you can't even go on. So that's what we have. And it is a better number, and maybe things will straighten out. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, because my point is, okay, in July of 2012, FDA did their dirty deed. One of many, but this one was really beyond belief. And then they spent, after 2 years of trying to figure out how to do it, and then realizing that could very well lie and get away with it. And then after the dirty deed, not done cheap, because 2 years of government employees being used to figure out how to make the truth disappear and create a story that had no connection with reality. And then they enacted their plan, stole my property, financially ruined me totally financially. I lost everything. And then, what happened then? Working 4 months, 6 months, trying to go through my record and contact the patient, who really, the majority never even bothered answering them through their letter into file 13 and forget about it. Others answered them pretty furious, but they didn't get any response. And after 6 months of that, the only thing they could do is hashing through the emails that they had gotten hold of by downloading my hard drive, okay? So from the email, not even contacting the patient that didn't answer them, from the email trying to create a case and blowing up out of proportion everything and creating a situation. Oh, this is a fraud. How the hell is going to be a fraud if it works for people? Okay, there are people that didn't follow the guideline, fell back into the system, and they suffer from it. Well, they would have suffered in the first place if they had gone into the system. We have shown it many times what happens when you go through standard procedures, that have nothing to do with us and what we do. And even in other cases, not just cancer, people suffer because of the damage done by drugs. So how can you say, oh, it's my fault that something happened to them, when it's exactly what happens to them regularly when they go through standard procedure? We discussed some of those later about other cases that have nothing to do with cancer, just people getting sick from the drug they are given. That happens all the time, and they die too, or they die by medical mistakes, all sorts of things that have nothing to do with us and what we do. So, but use it as a method of attacking and destroying the enemy of Big Pharma. But see, the thing is that how can you even consider making something like fraud stick if there are success stories? A fraud is something that it doesn't work and it never does. But there are cases of success, which were in the email too, because, I'm sorry, because once they stole the email, they also had the emails from people that were thrilled, happy, with pictures on how they were progressing. So that is not only picking the one that were complaining and griping about nonsense and doing the wrong things. No, they use only those, not the other one. So it's been an awful year. And how could they get away with it? It's not the year. They get away with it because the government is crooked. And they allow all these things now. Apparently, they are trying to be cautious about what they do and try to get other people to attack and raid, and not FDA, because of the bad name that is given to FDA. And I discuss other cases where they use the police and the state health department, all kind of things, trying to cover up that is all coming from FDA. So we hope that with this new year, things will start changing for FDA, and they are going to start to be held responsible for what they do and why they mess up people's lives. We can only hope that happens, but apparently for all of us this was a bad year. For Barbara, apparently it was a bad year too. We don't have any recent update on what she is, where she is, and what she's doing. We hope that she's okay. We hope that if she cannot stay where she was, what she considered a safe house, if she cannot stay there, she has found another and better place. We can only hope. We don't know. We haven't received anything. We don't even know if she has internet access. We don't know. None at all. And of course, Randy has had a bad year too.
Oh boy.
With that great job, right?
Wow.
Slavery made legal, right?
It's stress. It's a lot of stress.
But it's just not the stress in the job itself. It's also the stress on the slavery status, okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't even touch it. I can't even go there.
And that is allowed to happen. Big companies can treat their employee any way they want to, and they can get away with it. There are unions, but even the unions have their hands tied, so it's not a good situation. Look what Wendy had to go through to have that person apologize for stepping out of line, and that wasn't even an apology.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So awful. You cannot expect to have loyal employees if you treat them like garbage, if you treat them like slaves. How can you expect them to be loyal? People are stupid. What was it that thing that I was looking at today? I can't remember the full phrase, but one of the things that Einstein said, don't argue with stupid people. This is not going to lead anywhere.
Yeah. It's impossible to argue with a sick mind or something like that.
But he said stupid people. I guess it's impossible, right? Yeah. Well, you know, the thing about Einstein is he was not the typical scientist, okay? The one, because a person that is really knowledgeable is modest, is not full of himself or herself, is not arrogant, a real knowledgeable person. So I made the question about him because he was pretty arrogant. And some of the things he said were, they might be they're true, but they're definitely insulting, and you cannot do that. But anyway, that's my point of view on things. Yeah, there are stupid people everywhere or ignorant, but you cannot attack him that way. Okay, that is not a proper behavior of a scientist and of a respectable individual. But anyway, that's on the side, the con. You have to be a little bit tolerant. It doesn't mean that you have to like him. It doesn't mean to have to go along with whatever they do and say, but you don't want to insult them openly, even if what you're saying is the truth. You just want to be mellow. You know, the old phrase, noblesse oblige. Science oblige too. So, okay. All right. So, slavery aside, I hope that things will get better this year. We can...
I know I do.
I don't know. Because if they don't, geez, what the heck are we going to do? I just don't know. But is the cartel of Big Pharma, AMA, and FDA going to be broken this year? Is this the year that is going to be broken? I don't know. That we can only hope, and we can only try to do it. But is it is going to happen? I don't know. And all the things that are out there with more power to the hospitals, I don't know. Doesn't look good. It doesn't look promising. We just can't. I can only say, I guess if we don't have any hope for this new year, then it's going to be hard to keep going on. So we have to have hope that we can change things and make them better. And hope is the driving force. Let's hope. Okay. So, on that note, is what is FDA doing? Has it changed yet? I don't think so. What has been doing is, as of course, approved 2 drugs of what? GlaxoSmithKline. So, Big Pharma approved 2 drugs that have to be used combined for COPD. And as you know, COPD is what? Chronic. What is the name?
Your guess is as good as mine on that one.
No. It's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. You know, every day they come with a new name. Okay, COPD, and you see the ad on TV all the time. COPD, and it is chronic obstructive. You have an obstruction of the air, pulmonary disease, and that includes bronchitis and emphysema. Chronic bronchitis and emphysema. And that is really interesting because I remember years ago when I was married to my first husband, my daughter was little. We were assigned he was assigned to a non-accompanied tour in Korea. And I went there anyway, I couldn't live on post. I lived in the economy, which is really a disgusting thing. But I could still have the use of the medical hospital and the doctors at the post and the PX and commissary, of course. But my daughter was sick. I brought her in, and then this kid came in, and it was a half Korean kid, and he was sick, and from the coughing, I know exactly what that kid had, and of course, they all jumped on my case when I told the nurse to isolate that kid, and they said, that's ridiculous because nobody gets measles anymore, and you had to, you don't have to be isolated because I said, yeah, nobody gets it if they are vaccinated, but these Korean kids are not vaccinated. It's just they didn't listen to me. And then, of course, it proved to be what I said, and they started picking up precaution and got ridiculous with the precaution. But anyway, back to the bronchitis. I was talking to the doctor, and he said, oh, that's nonsense. Bronchitis really does not exist. And I said, my sister-in-law will be glad to hear that because they told that her daughter has a chronic bronchitis. So she'll be glad to hear that it doesn't exist. But I guess they obviously have changed their mind, and they decided that it does exist and is on the list as a COPD. Okay, because a new name is always impressive. So, these two medications, and let me tell you the name, they're ridiculous. Umeclidinium and vilanterol. And the combination, they're both from Glaxo, Smith & Kline. They're both from the same company, but they have to be used together. And they were just approved by FDA. Because, okay, get this, all right? The reason. The two drugs combined improved lung function compared with placebo. Okay, that's really a good...
compared with placebo.
Yeah. That's really a good comparison, and that really makes it a real good drug, right? Yeah. Okay, according to what FDA reported, the reason for... And see that the committee recommended the drug, the combination, voting unanimously after umeclidinium and vilanterol had a significant benefit for patients with moderate to severe COPD. Okay, significant benefit. What does that mean? Besides the fact that it was an improvement over placebo? Don't you think that's rather vague? Significant improvement to placebo. Okay, but the committee voted 10-3 to approve the drug as safe. They were adverse cardiovascular event, note that. But they were fairly low. That's why they put the thing in a vote. They were concerned, supposedly they were concerned about it, but they put it to a vote and they voted for the drug. Okay, now do you remember about the compounding pharmacy? Very low complaints about problem with some of their compounded products, okay? And those were enough to close down the compounding pharmacy. But for a big drug from a big company like GlaxoSmithKline, well, small problems are just okay. You can approve the drug. It's good to approve the drug. Okay? The same usual double standard. And apparently they plan to continue that over this new year because this is the indication. Okay? Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't see how people agree to take any medication at all. It's just ridiculous. Oh, and another thing I wanted to cover. Remember last week when I said all the drugs are so dangerous that you just can't turn around to take anything, even something over the counter, that you are having serious risk. And I said, I don't see how anybody could pick up a thing of Dulcolax and actually use it. And by the way, the chemical name of Dulcolax is bisacodyl. Okay, just in case anybody wanted to know. Okay. And you asked me what side effects were, and I said, I read it and they were horrible, but I don't remember exactly what they were. So so I went back so that to cover up that gap, it's not a good thing to say it's bad, but I don't know what they are. Okay? But keep in mind that this is over the counter, and of course the authorities that are watching over our health and are concerned about our health have judged that the benefit to a patient are greater than the risk of side effects. And I'm sorry, and one of the problems beside the use of nausea, vomiting, the typical thing, they also can get cramp, weakness of muscle, irregular heartbeat, dizziness, decreased urination, and get this, mental changes, such like confusion. This is only because you're constipated.
Free speech guaranteed. You're listening to the Orion Talk Radio Network.
Orion News Talk exists because the corporate news media has failed us miserably. Our media has been controlled for decades. In 1917, J.P. Morgan bought up or infiltrated the top 25 newspapers, and news control became a reality. The CIA took over in the 1950s with Operation Mockingbird, recruiting over 400 journalists and news people, including Walter Lippmann, Edward R. Murrow, and Walter Cronkite. And today's top media figures are members of the Council on Foreign Relations, a group that at best is a think tank for foreign intervention, and at worst a proponent for the New World Order. The number one rule in journalism is to always follow the truth. The number two rule is no entangling alliances that prevent you from following rule number one. So why then are corporate media members part of the CFR? And now today, 6 corporations control our major media, which is why more people are turning to us. So keep listening and tell a friend. Orion News Talk, news and views beyond the mainstream media.
Okay, I haven't finished the list of bad side effects. There are a couple of more that need to be addressed, but I just realized we didn't do the station identification, so in case you don't know who you're listening to, let's go over where you can.
Speaking of side effects, no. You're listening to the Medical Conspiracy on OrionTalkRadio.com and Micro1650.com out of Tonawanda, New York. And you might be listening on Spreaker.com, maybe TalkSuperstation.com, TalkStreamLive.com, Shoutcast.com, maybe listening on the TuneIn app. And where else are we?
I
think
know.
that's about it.
Yeah, I think so.
If not for a little musical copyright, we might be on iHeartRadio, but yeah, that didn't go over very well.
Oh, yeah. We're still on below the 30 seconds, so I don't understand that, but some people have. Anyway, so what I was saying, you go to Walmart, you have a slight problem of being constipated, you want a solution, and you look what they have, and Dulcolax is one of them. And you don't have to go see a doctor for it, even though here they tell you, oh, if you have a reaction, talk to your doctor. Yeah, sure. Okay. The doctor didn't prescribe it. It's not a prescription. Okay. You can get, I don't believe I said that, you can also get serious allergic reaction, including rash. Okay? Itching, swelling, in most cases of the face, tongue, and throat. Okay, all of this from a laxative? Okay, and that is not it. Severe dizziness and trouble breathing. Okay? And this is something that is allowed on the market, not only on the market, but is without prescription.
Wow.
Are we nuts here? That's what I said. That what they have it written in the package. So anybody that read that, is he actually going to buy that product? I don't think they should. They all tell you that it's rare. They're rare. Okay, but how do you establish the level of rare? Following what standard? And even to the handful of people that it happens to, isn't that plenty already? That was the mentality we closing down the compounding pharmacy. So shouldn't it be for this too? Okay, and another thing that I omitted is which company makes Dulcolax. I didn't look at it. I'm sorry. See, there is always something missing here. There's so many things that you have to look at that it's ridiculous. Okay, but other big news. This is something that was my direct experience. I was looking at the products and I said, wait a minute. Look at the contraindication. Look at the list of side effects. Are we kidding here? For something that simple, think about that. All these side effects for something that simple. What about something more serious? Not necessarily just cancer drug, but even other disease, you know? Well, like for high cholesterol. And then they decided that isn't really a problem, but you should still take the statin drugs, which, by the way, they can give you diabetes, but it's not that big of a problem because we have the drugs for diabetes, which cause heart problem, which was the problem that you had to take statin drug in the first place for fear of...
Boy.
It's funny. It's ridiculous, although if you think about it, it's not funny at all because... And with all of this going on, but, FDA forces the company, Diseo Ribajar, Inc. Ribajar, that's an interesting name. Diseo is easier to learn. To recall Burn 7 capsule that make you lose weight because there is an undeclared ingredient. And the undeclared ingredient is butramine, and that could be dangerous substance for people. It helps your obesity, but it could be a dangerous substance for people that have history of coronary artery disease, congestive heart failure, arrhythmia, or have had a stroke. Okay. Can't you just put that as a warning label? Ask them to put a warning label. If you do have this condition, you cannot use this product. Isn't that better than having people getting all these problems that I just listed for a laxative, even though they have no health problem? No. That is not because it's obviously not a compounding pharmacy that is producing Dulcolax. But Burn 7 capsules are produced by compounding pharmacy, so they should stop. Be stopped, not be on the ground anymore. Because the product was sold directly to individual in Puerto Rico, they should be stopped. See? They should not be allowed to continue. But serious side effect, that's another story, okay? That serious side effect of perfectly healthy people, well, is not a serious thing at all. That's all you can do is put a warning label, and not even a major warning label. Rare cases. Yeah. Beyond double standard, really. Okay. Not okay, but it's what's going on. And that's why I want to warn people, be careful. or whatever is suggested to you by, even what is suggested to you by your own doctor, because they all have a reason for it. Yeah, it's supposedly, and we'll get to that in a minute, it's supposedly doing that for the best, for your best interest. Not. But it's giving you bad drugs, bad poison, and hoping that the patient can handle. And if they can, well, that's good, because they are return patient with other, needing other care, other medication, more doctor visits, so it's all a good business. Okay, now, going back to the cancer, I'm hopping back and forth so you don't hear only cancer all the time, which is a major problem, but you don't want to hear just that all the time. So now we're hopping back to cancer for a short time, and the short is a point of this discussion because this article of December 18 of the awful last year, there is a drug shortage, and there are shortages, not just one drug, many drug shortages continue to plague the cancer care. That's a result of a survey. They plague the cancer care. Okay, it's not that the cancer care is plagued in itself or the way it's handled. They call it care, it's torture, okay? It's already a plague there because people are being tortured and not necessarily saved. But there is a shortage of cancer drug, and you start wondering, really? They keep talking about this and that drug. So how is there a shortage? I tell you how. The shortage applies to the generic drugs. There are plenty of drugs whose patent has expired, and they are made by others. There are plenty of generic drugs that do the same of other drugs, but because the company that makes them are being harassed, compounding pharmacy are being messed up, but other smaller drug company are being harassed by FDA, so they have a hard time putting up the product, or they have to close down. So there is a shortage problem. What's happening is the FDA knocking.
Do what?
I heard a knock, so I said,
oh no,
knocking.
that was me. I was just clearing my throat.
I was just kidding. Okay, expect FDA to come in and say, "You cannot say that." Right? Okay, so there is a shortage of generic cancer drugs. The generic one, the least expensive one. But, and patients have to go from one drug to a different one because the one that has been used on them is no longer available. But which one are the ones that are available? The newer one, the one that costs a lot of money, got a higher cost. See, like Yarvoy, of others, you know, they are already available. You just have to give up the generic. Okay, isn't that racket? That is not that racketeering. And FDA is working with that because it's going and closing down the small pharmacy. The substitution, apparently, the stage of shortage and the people forcing the substitution, it reaches about close to 60% of the patients. It might be more, but that's what they're claiming and sticking to the story here, about 59 point something percent of patients have to be forced into higher brand name and higher expensive drug, like I said, it's probably ipilimumab and all the other umab that are out there. But so there is shortage. No, there isn't shortage. There is shortage of the ones that are less expensive, which, by the way, are still pretty expensive. But they're not 100,000 of a year of ipilimumab, Yervoy, see, of others. Yeah, I mean, just get real. But that's what's happening. And if that is not a racket of FDA in conjunction with the drug company, helping the drug companies, because if they ruin financially and force a smaller pharmaceutical organization or compounding pharmacy, they force them to close down, then what's left for the public? The only thing that is left for the public is the expensive drugs. It's the same thing of putting us out of business, okay? Reasonably priced treatment that actually solved the problem, saved the life, and has no side effect. Well, we have to put an end to it. FDA and the drug company together, they have to put an end to it, because what's going to happen if patients don't take drugs anymore for cancer?
Oh, no.
Yeah, what's going to happen if they are well and they can go back to work with their normal life after a treatment offered by this rinky-dinky operation? Oh, no, we cannot allow that. We cannot allow them to get bigger and be the first choice of patient. We cannot allow that. So put an end to it. Same with drugs, put an end to it. Not that those drugs really solve the problem, but they just, no, they might still kill the patient, but at least they don't ruin financially the entire family, okay? That's not allowed. So FDA had to step in and do the job to protect their friends, the drug companies that bring in so much money. See? That's the point here, money. And that's another thing, okay? And I am not sure that there was an article about it, but yeah, I think so. Let me see if I find the article. Basically, well, that's connected also to the article about the fact that this small oncology, yeah, this is another article. Hold on a minute, okay? Not just the drugs. This is an article of Medscape again, but this is December 26th, so it's really pretty recent, the day after Christmas. The article says that community oncology practice is threatened by the new Medicare cuts. Medicare has had cuts to try to cut the waste, and this is threatening the community oncology practice. Why? I have no idea, but because they're all paid quite well. So I have no idea why, but there are twofold problems here. Okay, why some of the decision, because in my opinion is intentionally closed down, caused the small oncology practice, community oncology practices to be in trouble and having to probably close down. Why would they do that? Okay, one is the fact that they probably are charging a lot more than they should. They are trying to cut. What they're doing is reducing the payment to the underlying cost of chemotherapy and other cancer drugs. Okay, remember years ago the article came that the cost of chemo drugs was generating an 80% profit to the clinic, and only 20% was going back to the drug company because the drug company was providing this tremendous discount. So you start wondering, how could the oncology clinic be in trouble? But back then they said that it was because it's so expensive to take care of the patient on chemo that they needed full staff, and that's why they need to charge so much. But from the report I got, even on MD Anderson, the famous MD Anderson that gives you bad infection when you go for a simple biopsy. But anyway, so even in MD Anderson, what happened is they take the patient, put it on this chair, hook it up to the chemo, turn on the TV for the patient to walk, hand them a Coke, and that's it. The nurse leaves. Whatever happened to him was getting the chemical infusion. The nurse is not there to help him. That's why they have stain of puke all over the walls. Okay. And the patient not charged hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay? Well, the cuts are threatening Medicare. So there are twofold problems here. One is the unrealistic view of how much money a doctor can make having one kind of these facility. And the other one is the wish of hospitals, large hospital, big organization, to eliminate the competition of small doctor office. People prefer, I'm not sure that they get a less expensive bottom line bill going to a small clinic, but I think the patient feel that they're getting a better personal care, which is not necessarily true, but they think that. Okay? So that's a preference to go to a small clinic. And that's a competition to the big hospital. So they, of course, are trying to put an end to it. Okay? So the government is probably helping them by cutting the payments of Medicare are, because the majority of patients are older patients and they are all on Medicare. So some have supplemental insurance, some they don't. But cutting the Medicare affects the majority of there are younger cancer patients, but the majority are older. So affects the revenue of the clinic. But now, where's the problem here? As I said, one is the competition to the larger organization that they don't want to see, just like hospitals don't want to see small doctor offices succeed. They don't want to see that, or compounding pharmacy for that matter, because it lowers the cost. But also is an unrealistic expectation by part of doctors on how much money they can make with their practice. Okay? And this is something that I have seen directly. Doctor expected to, take a good number of years to become a physician, but then you're a millionaire. Why should a physician be a millionaire? What does he do more than other people with normal job? And by the way, medicine, being a doctor, is also a normal routine job because people get the flu all the time and minor problems, and then they get some bigger problems. People get sick all the time. So why should they expect to be millionaire? But they also expect money to come fly out of the wall by magic. I know that's the way they think, because one of the, both of the doctors I had in Oklahoma, and really my practice did not need a physician. I did it to just stop arguing, and besides, that way I could get the physician to prescribe ultrasound for the patient, because a lot of patients didn't want to come back to see me to have an ultrasound, and they were going to someplace near their home and then send me the disc. But near their home, they needed a prescription from the doctor, and the regular doctor wouldn't do it because they didn't go to standard treatment, so refused to give him and I am not sure that that's legal. That's not a proper thing for the practice, but they refused to give him the prescription. So they would get back with me and wanted a prescription. Having a doctor, which was extremely expensive, would resolve that problem. Oh yeah, they were asking an outrageous amount of money just to work for me a few days ago.
30 seconds. Sorry.
Okay, so we're near the end. Well, this particular physician, I'll finish it after the break, but this particular physician, well, actually, it's not the break, it's the end of the first hour, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, this is kind of It's going to take more than 30 seconds, so we are going to continue after the news break and advertising and so on, and we are going